Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Mary Abbajay, and I'd like to welcome you to the Friday 15. This is our weekly live broadcast where, we go live for 15 fast, furious, hopefully fruitful minutes in order to talk about career and workplace success. So say hello if you're here, enter us in the chat box, give us a what's up, a TGIF if you're here, because today's topic I'm very excited about because today's topic is going to be all about career advancement for women. Yes, despite the loads of progress that women have made over the years, women still face some significant challenges and obstacles in advancing their careers. So, for today's show, I have a very special guest, an expert on career advancement for women, and her name is Elise Holtzman. I'm going to bring her up and tell you a little bit about her. Elise is a former, or could I say recovering lawyer who is now an executive coach consultant who works with organizations, professional services, law firms on helping them create really healthy, thriving businesses and healthy, thriving leaders. Elise is passionate about helping women be successful in their careers, especially in male dominated fields. So, Elise, come on up. Hello. How are you, girl?
I am great. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So listen, we've got a couple of comments and I'll get to the comments in a minute. Hello, people. Elise, I want to just dive right in because 15 minutes is just not enough
No.
time for your fabulous self to help us with our fabulous selves. So first of all, what are some of the persistent or biggest challenges or obstacles that women are facing in their career advancement, especially in male dominated fields?
So, Mary, at the risk of stating the obvious, right? Women are still rarely at the top. They're rarely in the most impactful leadership role. So, as many organizations can tell you, they've got tons of women in there doing great work, but they're not stepping into those leadership roles in the numbers that we would expect in terms of their percentages of the population. So, what that means is they're not the ones driving and influencing strategy. They're not driving execution on important matters. They're not the ones coming up with, the ideas for change and having those implemented. They're not the ones making the ultimate decisions about things and decisions about things that affect the organization, that affect their colleagues, affect clients, and so it can be frustrating to see that, particularly when we see 50% or more of college graduates being women. Certainly in business school, law school, other kinds of graduate schools, there are at least 50% of women most of the time. So there's enough of an understanding of the concept of diversity and inclusion that companies and law firms are getting really good at hiring women into those positions at junior levels, but we're not seeing them in those same numbers at the higher levels, which means somewhere along the line, either we're leaving the organizations, there's attrition by women, or somewhere along the line, our career progress is being halted in some way.
I love that. And what are some of the areas that you think how much of it do you think is we are halting our own career advancement because we don't know how or what to do? And how much of it is organizations are just like duh around how to get more women up into the pipeline?
Right. So I think it's a combination of both. And I'm glad you raised the idea that, it is in part our own responsibility to make sure that we are getting there. So I think that there are a few things that we can do to advance our careers. I mean, to your point, some organizations are just coming around to the idea that they can put structures in place that make sure that women and people of color, and folks who are LGBT are getting opportunity. Because remember, in a lot of ways, it's not that women and others are not knocking it out of the park when they get the opportunity. What's often happening is that they're not getting the opportunities in the first place.
Mm.
And that's where I think organizations can do better. So some organizations are working on putting together mentorship programs and sponsorship programs. Other organizations, so that the people are given those opportunities. There are lots of people who are really good at what they're doing, but sometimes the people in power, even if they mean well, they feel that they're connecting more with people who look like them or feel like them. They might even not even realize why they're doing it, right? A lot of times I think this isn't really overt anymore. It's not even intentional anymore, but it's been around for so long that it's hard to break those patterns. So I think that organizations have the opportunity to work on those issues internally. At the same time, it's very important for us as women to recognize that we can take hold of our own careers, and not expect kind of the promotion fairy to come, tap you on the wand with her, on the shoulder with her wand just because you're doing good work. So first of all, recognize that doing good work just is not enough. It's just not enough. It's the price of admission. You're great at what you do, but stop doing good work and hoping that somebody's going to discover you.
Yeah, I gotta interrupt you on that because I think that this is a huge problem. I know I suffered from this myself early in my career. I call it the myth of meritocracy, that just because I
Right.
do good work, that someone's gonna notice. So I love that you brought that up because I think that's a really big challenge for a lot of people. And I think women tend to have that challenge more, the myth of meritocracy.
I think that's right because we were socialized that way. Get good grades, be a good girl, be polite to Mr. and Mrs. So and so. All of that sort of thing. If somebody says jump, you say how high. And look, those things are important, right? They got us where we are. But at some point, you've got to recognize that what got you here isn't going to get you there. And there's actually a women's leadership program that I do called just that: what got you here won't get you there. As you become more senior, there are other sorts of skills that you need, including relationship development, including understanding internal politics and being able to navigate those. And so it's not just about the work anymore. That's what you need to get started, but that's not going to carry you all the way through.
I love that. And so, what are some things that you think women are doing wrong in their career besides like the myth of meritocracy? What are one or two things that you think women are forgetting, or they've never been told, or they don't understand that this is important for advancement?
So I think it falls into maybe two categories as I'm thinking about it. One of them is there are things that you could be doing and you're saying, "Oh, no, no, I have too much work on my desk. I've got to get the work done." Right? Because you're used to checking off boxes and being that good girl and getting it done and being reliable. Grow and nurture your networks. Don't look at that as an afterthought. Don't look at that as I'm going to get to it when I have time. You're never going to have time, right? You're super busy. You're never going to have time. So make it part of what you do. Put it on your calendar. Don't look at that as a luxury. Look at it as a necessity. The other thing is to understand the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. And that's a big thing, that's a big thing these days. Sponsorship, and we don't have time to talk about what the differences are, but it's essentially, sponsors are people that will catapult you to success. They will put you in front of clients. They'll put you in front of decision makers. They have influence, they have juice. And it's, mentorship is nice, somebody that'll, talk to you about things and help you figure things out. But people have always succeeded by having sponsors in their life. And so understand, and there's a book you can read, Sylvia Ann Hewlett's books, Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor, and the sponsor effects are great. But understand you can't go this alone. So you need those relationships internally, and then you need relationships externally.
I love that because mentors are great. Mentors are going to give you advice, sponsors are going to get you opportunity. Am I right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly the difference, is that the mentors are talking to you about what you can do, and the sponsors are actually doing it for you and putting you in the right places. So that's important to know about, and then to try to look around and see who can be helpful to you. I mean, there's a quid pro quo, right? The sponsor is going to expect something in return, and you can learn more about what that looks like. So I think there's one category of making sure that you're not just doing the work and having these relationships in your life. The other category is the kinds of things that women as a whole do. Obviously, not every woman, right? But again, we do the
Can't
good
wait
work,
for
and,
these. I'm
and
sure
we
I'm gonna click off ones that I'm doing. Go
we
ahead.
all, yeah, we all do them, right? But first of all, stop making yourself smaller to make other people comfortable, right? Use powerful, straightforward language. And look, Mary, you and I would say you and I are what we might refer to as not shrinking violets, okay? But not, and we've probably had to overcome some discomfort as well to get there. But for some women, this is really, really hard. They don't want to be the outspoken voice. But the thing is that when you go into a meeting and you say, "Hey guys, this may sound really crazy, but I was thinking," and look, it might not work out, but no.
Bam, right there, you've just made yourself smaller.
Exactly. Just by using that sort of language. And if you're feeling small, then everybody else around you looks at you as if you're small. So let's stop making ourselves smaller, and less than to make other people comfortable. And then the
I
other,
wait, I just want to
yeah,
say I love that so much because there's the little things that we do, like those little qualifiers we put on, these little like, oh no, you sit at the table, I'll sit, on the background. Like those little things really add up, don't they?
they do. And it's literal because I had a young woman who was a client of mine. When she walked into a meeting, I finally asked her, I was getting like a strange sensation about this. And I said, "Hey, when you walk into a meeting, where do you sit?" And she said, "Oh, I always sit like on the chairs around the outside, right? If there's not, because there's not enough space at the table." I said, "Oh, because the table's full." And she goes, "Oh, no, no, the table's not, there could be two people sitting at a table for 12 people, but I always take a seat around the outside." And I was like, "No, we're going to sit at the table right smack in the middle of one side,
I
right?"
love that. Like when I teach young people like where to sit at a table, I'm like, sit at the table,
Right.
literally and
Literally at the
figuratively.
table.
Like wait, because when you sit outside in the perimeter, you are literally then putting yourself outside of the decision making.
Right. And so nobody's done it to you. You've done it to yourself. And so this is the category, the second category that I'm talking about, where we're doing things to ourselves that we could avoid doing. Another one, stop trying to do everything yourself. No one who is successful has done everything herself. So look around. Leaders don't do everything themselves. Whoever you are, whoever you admire has had people help them along the way. So leaders outsource, they delegate, they eliminate, right? They decide that some things aren't important. They surround themselves with people who are good at what they do and they build teams. And it doesn't have to be fancy, right? You could be in a solo organization or a small organization, and maybe it's your nanny or your house cleaner or somebody who runs errands for you
Or your husband
or your
who can
husband.
do your laundry for you.
Yes, he can. He sure can. But stop trying to be all things to all people.
I love it. So part of that is you have to learn when to say no and what to say no to.
Right, and saying no is very, very hard. I was actually at a women's bar association event this week talking to a very young woman who's actually just in law school. And I could not, when this woman was telling me what she was doing, I could not believe the numbers of things she was doing. I was exhausted just listening to her. And I do a lot. So we talked about this idea of saying no. Not only are you allowed to say no, you must say no in order to advance. And if you have to, first of all, learn not to give excuses. You don't have, "Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm unable to do that." Period. It
Done.
doesn't have to say, "Because there's this thing and I'm really sorry, but I have to go to this thing and my kid and my husband and I'm so busy at work." No. The answer no is yes is okay and no is okay. So that's part of it. And it's not easy because we don't want to disappoint people, but you're disappointing you. Right? Stop putting yourself at the bottom of the list, and women are really, really good at putting ourselves at the bottom of the
Yeah, I
list.
once read that Warren Buffett said the difference between successful people and highly successful people is that highly successful people say no to almost everything,
Right.
right? Because what happens is when you say yes to things that aren't really important to you or aren't one of your priorities, you're actually saying no to your priorities because you only have limited time. I love that. What else do you think women need to stop doing?
I think women can stop, well, it's Jack Canfield who wrote the Success Principles and is one of the co-founders of that whole Chicken Soup for the Soul series, said, "Cancel your membership in the Ain't It Awful Club." Right? So it's okay to complain. We all complain occasionally, right? You got to get things off your chest. You need somebody to listen to you. Just need to go in there and fetch a little bit. Okay, we get that. But you mess with your own head when you do it consistently. And you create a mindset for yourself that doesn't make sense. And so when you're sort of standing around the proverbial water cooler and all the other women are complaining about what's going on in the industry, you're in the wrong company.
Mm.
Right. So, you're and motivational speaker Jim Rohn, I read all of these old white guys who are in professional development, but he always said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're hanging out with the ain't it awful people, I think you put yourself in trouble. And so sometimes and very few women's organizations wind up becoming places to complain about them and the men and what's going on out there. And sure, we've got to know what's going on. We've got to be aware of what the challenges are. But just because other people are complaining doesn't mean you have to be. So instead of spending the time complaining and sucking the life out of yourself and the motivation out of yourself, make up your mind that you're not going to be part of that club.
I love that so much because negativity just brings negativity. Disengagement just brings disengagement. I love that. Kelly Percaro, I can't know if I said
Oh,
your name.
Kelly Procaro.
Yeah,
Yes.
she wants to know how she can sign up for your program. So it's the lawyer. Should they go to lawyersedge.com?
Well, yeah, so it's interesting because if she's asking, I don't know what program exactly that she's asking about, but we are launching a women's empowerment program for lawyers in 2022. So Kelly and I know each other, so she can just reach out to me. But yes, people can go visit thelawyersedge.com and find out more about what we do. You can also just email hello@thelawyersedge.com and say hi, and we'll get back to you.
All right, Elise, I'm going to keep you for 2 more minutes, and
Okay.
I'm going to give you 3 rapid-fire questions. All right, I'll tell you
All
what they
right.
all are so you can figure it out. So I would like you to give us one piece of career advancement advice for women beginning early in their career, one piece of career advancement for advice for women mid-career, and one piece of advice for women late career.
Wow. Okay. So the women who are just starting out, I think it's really important, again, to recognize it's not just about the hard work. Your hard work and your pursuing excellence has gotten you where you are, and that's amazing. As you get into the workforce, and you're meeting more and more people, make sure that you're retaining the networks you already have, right? Don't forget about the people that have been with you along the way. The people that you are with now, the people you're in school with, the people you're starting out with, those yo-yos at some point are going to become decision makers in organizations. They're going to have experiences you haven't had, and they're going to be able to offer you business and opportunities. So stick with them. You're going to learn a lot from each other.
Stick with those yo-yos. All right,
Okay.
mid-career.
Mid-career, remember what got you here won't get you there. At some point, you've got to make the jump. And so I mean make the jump from being a doer to being more like a manager and a leader, right? So your job becomes less about doing and more about managing people and projects and then becoming a leader. So understand that you might have to make a real mental shift and pursue different kinds of courses and information and books so that you can learn how to do that.
I love it. And late career.
Late career. So, first of all, there's so much more out there for you, right? Just because you're in your late career and you've been doing this for a long time, you can turn on a dime and do something new if you want to. But recognize that sponsoring and mentoring other people isn't just doing things for other people. It's going to do stuff for you as well. So I think that the book that I mentioned, Sylvia Hewlett's book, The Sponsor Effect, research shows that people who sponsor others who are coming up behind them actually reap benefits themselves. They do things for their own career that they might never have expected that they can do.
So late career, pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
I love it. Elise, thank you so much.
This was so fun.
Always
Thank
with you is
you.
a delight. We'll have to have you back on. But thank you so much, everybody. Elise Holtzman, The Lawyer's Edge. That's her company. The Lawyer's Edge is also an amazing podcast. Check it out when you can. I promise we will have Elise back because we have so much more to cover. Please join me next week where we'll have the amazing Carrie Hatch is back again, who we all know and love. And Carrie Hatch and I are going to talk about what it's like to own your own business, the good, the
That's a
bad,
good
the
one.
ugly, right? And we can have you on for that too, Elise.
Yeah, I'm going to come.
You're going to come. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. And until next week, be good, be kind, and get out there. And as Elise says, self-promote yourself. Move your career forward. Take charge of your career. All right, everybody, we are Audi 5000. Bye, Elise.
Bye-bye.